I would have never guessed that the rash that caused me so much embarrassment and insecurity would actually be the thing that not only helped clarify my purpose, but also helped show me a roadmap to how I could eventually get it. And so the point of this video is to let your struggles be the events that eventually propel you into a better version of yourself. And so while you're going through these things, and they're not ideal and they're painful, they may actually be the right thing that you needed to motivate you for change. I'm Travis, and I've been helping people transform their mental, emotional, and physical fitness for the past 10 years as a personal trainer and physical therapist. And so in 2022, I woke up one morning with a small red dot right below my eye. And at the time, I just thought it might have been a pimple and didn't think much of it. And a couple days later, it went away. And then shortly after, same thing, I woke up again and there was another one under my eye, but then there was a couple others right next to my nose above my lip. And so these ones I kind of played with a little bit because again, I thought they were pimples. So, I tried cleaning them out and popping them, but then nothing happened. So I remember thinking that was kind of weird. And so again, I let them go and they went away. But then shortly after, they just started multiplying to where one morning I woke up and I just had red all under both eyes. And then it eventually spread to my nose and it was dark. And so it was very noticeable. And no matter what I did to try to cover it up, it wasn't doing anything. And I felt like most people were being considerate and, didn't say anything or weren't looking. And I remember one day I was working and one guy said, what's going on with your eye? Because he saw me before, but it looked like it was getting worse and it was getting more red and even more inflamed. And that really kind of ignited the insecurity that I already had. And I remember getting into points where if I had to talk to people face to face, which I was trying to avoid as much as I could at that time, but I was working in clinics and working with people face to face. And so there wasn't a way to do that. But then I started getting in this insecure habit of every time I would be interacting with somebody, I would be looking at their eyes to see if they were looking at what was going on with my face. And at the time it was tough because of that. I mean, I didn't even want to look in the mirror because I hated seeing it because I really felt like I was out of control. I had put all this work into my brain and my mind and my body through working out and working on my fitness and going to school and working on my education and reading books in my own time to try to grow and accumulate knowledge and be better. But then now I was in this situation where I felt out of control and I didn't know what to do because all the things that I was trying, all the things that I was putting on it weren't making any difference. And even going to the doctor and going to the dermatologist and all these things, I couldn't find an answer, except for the answers that I was given was it was eczema and it was genetic and these things happen. But I had a hard time believing that because I never had problems with my skin before growing up. Even when I was a teenager, I never really had problems with acne. I never had acne. I mean, I have some pimples here and there, but never problems with my skin. And even my family never really had problems with their skin. So it being a genetic thing was hard for me to wrap my mind around. And so what really ended up being the turning point was when I went to YouTube and I found somebody who went through the same thing. They might have had a little bit more of a predisposition for having skin problems before, but he provided a lot of very valuable information that really helped me and gave me hope and gave me confidence. And then I started doing those things and things were changing because what really ended up being the turning point was I was given some steroidal cream that I could put on it to help calm the inflammation and take the redness down. And I was doing that for a while, and I did that for a couple weeks, and then I stopped because I didn't want to be taking that and putting it on my skin, for a long term. And when I stopped doing that, I had the worst breakout that I had in the year or two that I was dealing with it. And then after that, I decided I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to go all in on my health, my mental state, my emotional state, and more specifically, my gut health, changing around my diet, healing my gut, healing my nervous system, and reducing the inflammation that I was having by calming my immune system down as well. And so now to go back to what I said originally about clarifying my purpose is that I've always gone through these phases of having certain challenges and struggles that I was dealing with, which in my younger days started with anxiety. And I struggled with confidence and feeling like I was kind of worthy in a lot of sense, which looking back is funny because I always had friends, and I played sports, and I was one of the more popular kids, you could say, in a small school, and people knew me. And again, it wasn't those types of things weren't hard, but internally, I just felt like an imposter. And one of the first things that I gravitated towards was fitness and bodybuilding, because having some control over my circumstance by getting bigger and stronger, in learning what to do in the gym and applying myself and working hard and then seeing these changes gave me that confidence, that first bit of confidence in my life, and then made me feel like I had control over my life and my circumstance. And then that same kind of idea played out when I wanted to work more on my social anxiety. And so I read more books, and I put myself in uncomfortable situations and had more conversations and learned skills and then applied them. And then as I got older, I kind of dove into more of a spiritual realm of learning more about, my internal state and my purpose and, my connection with everyone and everything around me. And the reason I bring all those things up is because this moment when I had this rash was really pivotal for me, because it brought all of that together, all of these things that I've learned along my lifespan from a teenager till now at 31, almost 32 years old. And each one of those phases and those struggles that I worked towards and overcame and accomplished provided a lot of value for me in my life, and actually eventually were the things that directed my path, because I went into personal training because of that love for fitness. And then I went into higher education and got a graduate degree and a doctorate degree because of that desire for more knowledge and the reading of books and seeing how much value that brought to my life. And then also the sense of calm and peace and tranquility that came from the spirituality practices and in the search for purpose and meaning in life, and gravitating towards meditative practices and even things like yoga and breath work and all of those. But they were all very segmented in a way, like they were all kind of separate. Like I would focus on one, and then I would focus on another, and I would focus on another. But then this rash and this individual that I was following, it made it very apparent that they all needed to be combined into not one practice, but one mindset of that how all of these practices together are important for well-being and having a lifestyle built around wellness. And it doesn't mean that challenges aren't going to happen or hard things aren't going to happen, but you become much more prepared for them when they do. And they no longer become things that are attempts at breaking you, but rather lessons that continue to make you grow stronger. And so again, going back to this purpose and giving me a road map to how I could achieve it, is I had never thought about making YouTube videos before, because it was just too uncomfortable, too embarrassing. I would have never put myself out there. But now having the gratitude towards this person who just started putting out information about their story and what they went through had helped me so much. And that was the first time I had actually reached out to somebody online for help. And it just felt like the right thing to do. And again, it was almost like a natural instinct to that sort of gratitude that I felt for all this information that he was just giving me without knowing me. And I realized that's always what I wanted to do. I always wanted to work with people in a fitness setting, which is how it started. But then I started realizing how important all these other aspects of life were. And when I started integrating that into my personal training with my clients and seeing how much more that they enjoyed the interactions or how much more they got out of it, I knew that I wanted to create something that was mine and almost like my own system in a sense, but really just creating an environment or a business or coaching program or whatever the case may be, or like a mentorship around my journey and all the things that I have learned in my life through overcoming the challenges and obstacles that I went through, because I know other people have too. Just like this guy knew the same. He went through these challenges and then he told others and gave his testimony of what he went through so that others may follow, like the hero's journey. And he ended up benefiting so many lives that he knew of and then didn't know of, because there's so many people that would watch and not reach out, but they're just watching just the same and getting value from it. And so after going through my personal training and physical therapy, I didn't want to be pigeonholed into one kind of frame of thinking of just the body or just the mind or just the emotions or the emotional state. All of those things should be intertwined together. And there are a lot of these practices that actually cross over to each other, where one benefits the other and the other benefits the other, and so on and so forth. But then having the attitude and the mindset that it's a continual practice and it always will be. And so with that in mind, I want to just encourage you, if you're going through struggles or problems, that as long as you keep an open mind and stay positive, that one day you will look back on it and see why that happened or what you learned from that experience. I truly believe that there was always a lesson in those things. And again, even though it doesn't feel like it at the moment, and it's a struggle and it's a challenge, for me, I learned a lot more about my own faith in that process, because I asked myself during it, do I really believe that I'm going to be living with this for the rest of my life? And I honestly felt like I wasn't, like I was going to figure it out, even though I didn't have the answers now and I didn't know how long it would take. Being able to answer that honestly with a yes, and even if it was a no, can I accept that I would live with this for the rest of my life? Both of those mindsets I did accept, but ultimately what I came down to was I didn't believe that I was going to have it for the rest of my life. That gave me a sense of calm, that I can just put one foot in front of the other and then slowly figure it out and be able to look at those things more objectively and find the lessons more easily while I'm going through it, because I felt like eventually it was all going to work out. And eventually it did. And like I said, that gave me so much more of a stronger faith that things are meant to happen for me and not to me. And that I got a lot of valuable things, a lot of valuable lessons out of that experience, which now led me here, making videos that I never thought that I would do. And excited and happy to do it, because I want to be able to give back to others like that individual gave back to me. And so if you have an experience like that, I would love to hear about it. And so I invite you to share that experience of how something that you thought was a challenge or a struggle, or maybe was something that you question if you're going to have to live with it for the rest of your life, whether it was a health challenge or something else in life that we all go through that you just wonder, is this ever going to end? What was it, and how did you get through it? Or rather, what was the best lesson that you learned from it? Because I'd love to hear from it. And with that, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it.